Hmm. Happy, what is it, Tuesday, everyone? Nick here with Jayhawk, as always, helping you break down tonight's NBA DFS main slates on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Got a nice 8 game slate tonight. Some decent value opening up. A lot of pretty interesting matchups, actually, to talk through. Jayhawk, what's your initial take on this one? Looks like we got another fun one here.
Yeah, fun slate tonight. Coming off a DeAndre Jordan smash night last night. So yeah, should be a fun one here. Got a bunch of games, bunch of injuries to talk about. Let's crush it per usual.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah, we got that Jordan stuff right. We said if he started, he'd definitely be a good play, and sure enough, he started. Was a hell of a play. Getting to chat quickly. A few more games to get to today than yesterday, guys. We'll still try to get to everyone. Unicorn, shouts out, Ben Chizzy, Heath, Landon here. Definitely sharing sentiments with a lot of people, I imagine. Was cashing last night until the Kings got blown out and benched their starters for the fourth. Yeah, man, feel your pain. I think that happened in a couple of my lineups. I don't know, Kate Knight, nothing special. Don here as well, shouts out. But yeah, guys, 8 games to get to. Let's get right into it here. Looking at the schedule, 2 games at 7 o'clock. So we'll start with the one we're not waiting for too much news on. Orlando taking on the Charlotte Hornets. On the Orlando side of things, Mo Wagner is going to be out. Jalen Suggs is out as well. Still no Cole Anthony. Trevin Queen's available. Not that that's super significant as far as DFS goes, but we'll start on the Orlando side here. So obviously, Orlando the better team in this matchup, but I think we could maybe see a competitive game with this being them traveling on a back-to-back. Last night we were kind of split. I was more on Bonchero, you were more on Wagner. Wagner had the better night, but yeah, I think every single night we can have the same conversation. Both these guys look really solid. Kind of depends where your builds are going. If you have the extra salary for Paulo, I mean, his ceiling has been consistently higher this season, but at the same time, Franz is right there with him. Both of these two look excellent to me. I don't know that there's much else here I want to get to. Again, with all these guards out, Anthony Black has been really good off the bench. We kind of said, maybe yesterday, but he had a really good game, and the field does seem to be getting there pretty aggressively. I don't mind mixing him in. I don't think he's going to start. I think we actually already have the Orlando starting lineup. Yep, Joseph Caldwell Pope both starting here. So yeah, man, I like the wings. Obviously, Paulo and Franz look good, but unlike yesterday, I don't maybe mind mixing in a little bit of Anthony Black. Carter Jr. is always tricky. He's too cheap for his upside, but his floor is so low. Definitely more of a tournament play. I think we have other centers we can get to today, but again, just to reiterate quickly, I like Wagner and Boncaro. Don't mind a little bit of Anthony Black. I do like the matchup, and I actually do think this game could be competitive with this team traveling on a back-to-back. But Jayhawk, how are you going to handle Orlando?
Yeah, so you guys in the chat are gonna laugh at me because I'm actually on Banchero today more than Wagner, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I think they're both solid here once again. And then I love the Anthony Black shout. I was off him as well yesterday, but I do project him to have a pretty good game here today. So firmly mixing in Anthony Black as well. So those three in particular. And then Wendell Carter, I thought I would get more to today, but once again, really not getting to as much as I thought I would. But I think he's firmly in play as well at 5,200. Did you have any thoughts on him?
Yeah, pretty much the same, man. You could get to him. It's just the floor's been so low. I will say the minutes are back up the past few games, so I feel a little bit better about it. But yeah, I mean, it's rare that we see a center with such a low floor, so I'm a little bit hesitant to get there. And I will say this on Anthony Black. Yeah, we both like him, but there are a lot of good guard value plays on this slate, so he's not going to be a priority, but wouldn't fault anyone for getting there. Over on the Charlotte side of things, yeah, this team has pretty much no ownership. Damian Baugh, Trey Mann, Brandon Miller, all out. Grant Williams obviously out for the season. Okogie questionable. I don't think he's going to play. But yeah, we got LaMelo and Bridges at the top here in terms of OF index. I mean, you can make a case for either. Obviously, can't really feel great about the matchup. I would slightly prefer Bridges for the discount, but again, against Orlando, I don't think I could prioritize either of these guys. They got Mark Williams in there, who continues to flash upside, but the minutes for him have been pretty much all over the place, only over 30 minutes once the past couple of weeks. So even though he's putting up numbers, I don't know if I trust him entirely until we see him consistently over 30 minutes again, which may not even happen this season. But yeah, man, I don't mind Bridges or Ball, but again, I just don't think I can prioritize them tonight. Pretty tough matchup, even if this game is close. Are you getting to any of these Charlotte Hornets?
Yeah. So Charlotte here is just very tough spot, like you mentioned, contrary to Orlando here. So you could get to Lamelo, but I have like none of these guys in my current exposure. So not much here for me.
Yeah, we won't waste too much time then on the Hornets. We'll get into the next game here. We got another game at 7 o'clock. We're still waiting on some news for the Pistons. The Spurs are in Detroit taking on the Pistons. 233 point total here, so nice healthy total. On the Spurs side of things, we'll start with them. We got no De'Aaron Fox, no David Duke, Charles Bassey, or Wemby, obviously. Stephon Castle is questionable, which is going to be significant. Yeah, man. So this is kind of tricky. Not the best matchup here against Detroit. At the same time, I do think some of these guys are playable. Devin Vassell, probably the one I have interest in. That being said, the price has come up on him to a point now where I don't really think we could call him a priority. If Castle's out, I do think he becomes more appealing given the little bit of extra usage we probably see there. But yeah, I don't know. Got to proceed with caution. A few nights ago, we thought So Chan was going to be the chalk, and he came off the bench. We saw Biombo get the start. I think that's what we're projecting again here today. So if So Chan's coming off the bench, he's fine in tournaments, but unless he's starting, I don't really want to call him a priority either. Chris Paul could maybe see a boost with Castle out, but at the same time, they're kind of limiting his minutes. He's there like half as a coach, half as just like the vet. I mean, he's getting minutes, but not enough that I'm excited to play him. And again, I don't think they're going to give him some sort of huge boost if Castle's out. I think it just means more bench minutes to guys like Wesley, Champagne, maybe Keldon Johnson, etc. So yeah, man, Devin Vassell may be the one play I'm interested in here. I will say if Sochan were to suddenly start, he becomes very appealing, but I imagine he comes off the bench. Are you getting too much San Antonio?
Yeah, so I think all these guys are like fine at their ownerships, but the guy I was getting the most here was actually Keldon Johnson,
Nice.
4,600. I just do like his price point. He's been very good off the bench here for San Antonio, so I do like Keldon a bunch here in tournaments. And then you mentioned it if Castle does miss here, kind of shifts the way I see the Spurs a little bit, but as of right now, I think Keldon's probably my favorite guy here.
Yeah, Keldon, another guy who's probably too cheap for his upside, but the floor is kind of low. So I do like him as a tournament play. I'd probably feel a little bit better about him if Castle's out. Probably means his minutes are a bit safer. But yeah, Spurs, decent spot. Not really a team we have any kind of core plays on. So we'll move over to Detroit. Still waiting on a lot of news here. So this one's kind of tough to talk about. Kind of delayed getting to them, but here we go. We got Cade and Tim Hardaway as questionable. Those are the big ones. Jaden Ivey's going to be out. Other than that, nothing too significant. If Cade's in, I mean, he's good. It's Cade Cunningham. He's been putting up numbers all season. Totally fine getting to him. Not a bad spot for Jalen Duren. There are a lot of good centers on this slate at varying price points. He's definitely one of them. And Tim Hardaway, questionable. Not really interested in him if he's in, but if he's out, things do get very interesting. So if both these guys are out, I think we're going to see Dennis Schroeder get the start at the point. He would become pretty appealing here. Malik Beasley, usually the first guy off the bench, already looks like a half decent play. But he would benefit greatly if Hardaway and or Cunningham are out. Oscar Thompson, too cheap on DK. Probably slightly overpriced on FanDuel. His minutes have been kind of all over the place. Coming off a game, he only played 9 against New Orleans. I don't know if he got hurt or what. But yeah, only one game over 25 minutes over the past 2 weeks for him. They announced that he wasn't going to be on a minutes limit, and suddenly they're limiting him more than ever. So kind of regardless here, I don't feel super good about Oscar. Tobias Harris would see increased usage if these other guys are out. But the plays we got to keep an eye on are definitely Schroeder and Beasley, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Cade or THJ, so we're going to have to wait and see. For now, I'll say Durant looks like a pretty good play. Other than that, nothing I'm prioritizing until we get this news. Jayhawk, how are you going to handle the Detroit Pistons?
Yep, you nailed it perfect here. Beasley and Schroeder would be the guys I'd prioritize here if Kid missed. And then I agree. I think Duran looks good on both sides, but we have a bunch of great center plays, so I'd be fine mixing him in. Definitely not a core play by any means.
Yep, totally with you. Let's check out chat real quick through the 7 o'clock games, making good time. Unihorn is saying Garland tonight. Absolutely love it. Jose, Payne or Pippen? It's both to me, man. You got to lean there, Jayhawk. I think both are in a lot of my dummy builds right now.
I have slightly more Pippen, but I think they're both like really good.
Yeah, I love both. Like, I don't know. I think Payne at his price might even be a little safer. But again, they're both in all my lineups, Jose. So we'll figure that out. Yeah, Jimmy going back to Miami. That's the big narrative today. We'll get to that game in a bit. He's already been playing well, and ownership seems pretty low. So don't mind him as a tournament play. We got a 2 for 2 here from Drew Pierce. Sengun and Mobley or Cat and Franz Wagner. I think I'm leaning Cat Franz Wagner. How about you, Jayhawk?
Yeah, definitely the second. I love Cat tonight. We'll get to that, but yeah, definitely the second one.
Yeah, the minutes for Sengun have been a little bit inconsistent. I do think Mobley's going to see a boost with Mitchell out, but that boost is definitely bigger for Garland, who got brought up earlier. Yeah, Jose Hawkins cost me last night as well. Wasn't playing great, but then he got hurt, so really no chance for redemption on that one. That was frustrating. Butler's Wiggins build around him. Yeah, if you're one who likes to take a stroll down Narrative Street, definitely a good way to start. Sengun or Bane from Torian. For me, this is Bane. Again, no John Morant. We'll talk about Memphis in a little bit. How about you, Jayhawk?
Ooh, this one's tougher. I think they're both good. I do slightly prefer actually. I'm gonna go Sengun here. I do slightly prefer Sengun.
Okay, yeah, models with you, so I wouldn't fault that at all. Much lower ownership too, so if you're chalky elsewhere, that's probably the way to go. Schroeder, if one of the Detroit guards are out, we just touched on this, and yeah, a lot of love for this revenge narrative. Can we pivot off Payne and Pippen? How do we like Ty Jerome today? He is one of the better pivots. We do have a few. I mean, Schroeder could become one really quickly. Ty Jerome is another good guard. And as I mentioned earlier, talking about Anthony Black as a play, if you're really desperate for a pivot, he's one. But guard is loaded with value. So, Don, you could pivot off him. But in my opinion, two of the best plays on the slate. And yeah, Demetrius here bringing up another good pivot in Luke Kennard, who we've seen play really well, whether he starts or comes off the bench. I like Monkey. I don't know if Jackson can get there. Also, are we running a second center on DraftKings? I mean, Jose, this is always tough to answer until we start to build. I think right now it's almost like I'd rather use that spark for guard because we have so much guard value. But we could talk about that in a bit. Jose saying or Don saying he had Carter. More on Mobley because Garland will probably see Tamari. That's a decent point power. At the same time, I mean, they're going to find ways to get Garland open. I don't think we want to overweigh that, but at the same time, we have the guard value. So off that alone, I think in terms of roster construction, you can get to just as much, if not more. Mobley, Black killed it last night. I think he will again tonight. Yeah, Mike, he has been kind of streaky. We could catch him hot right now. And then, yeah, Mobley here from Don as well. So love it, guys. Love that the chat's engaged. We're about one quarter of the way through the game by game breakdown. Let's get into these 7:30 games now. Very interesting one here in prime time. Golden State taking on the Miami Heat. Definitely the narrative game of the day. Jimmy Butler returning to Miami, where, yeah, some hard feelings for sure. And then Wiggins, obviously the other side of that trade. I don't know how bitter he is, but definitely some narratives there. More so on the Jimmy side. But as far as injuries go, I think Jimmy kind of depends on how available Steph Curry is, or if he's even available, because he is currently questionable. Gary Payton's going to be available. Otherwise, no injuries on the injury report for the Golden State Warriors. I could see a world where they let Steph sit tonight just to let Jimmy run the team. Um, at the same time, this is a game they probably want to win, so it makes sense to get Steph in there. I don't know how hurt Steph is. Like they've been very careful with him. The injury is listed as a pelvic contusion. Uh, I don't know, man. Is it real? What is it? Regardless, probably not getting too much Steph here. Jimmy looks good though. And Jimmy's been playing pretty well even with Curry in. I think with Curry out, that ownership has to come up. I'd be pretty shocked if he held at 6% on DK and 16 on FanDuel. Again, people are going to play that narrative a little bit. I don't know that the industry is necessarily baking that into their ownership projections. Draymond looks fine. You can make a case for pods. If Curry's out, pods would become much more appealing, so keep that in mind. We've seen the minutes start to tick up on Kuminga as well. Not crazy about him if Curry's in, but if Curry's out, definitely someone off the bench who's going to see increased usage. But yeah, Jayhawk, I'm hoping Curry's out so I can feel better about getting to more Butler. At the same time, I do think that would definitely boost the ownership for Butler, would make him a little bit less appealing in tournaments. But yeah, this is a game you got to have circled as an NBA fan, regardless of whether you're playing DFS tonight. But how are you going to handle these Warriors? And have you heard anything on Steph? I don't really have a good read on this. I don't think he went through shoot around today, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, so the chat and my phone has been blowing up. Steph Curry is out tonight. We just got that
Boom.
a minute ago. So huge news. Um, Obviously, it's going to bump Jimmy here as well. Jimmy, I think, looks a lot better in terms of, yeah, a lot of Steph comments here.
Yeah, I'll pull them all up. Shouts out, you guys. It's
Uh,
funny whenever we talk about a player, the news seems to come right in. So love it.
but yeah, so love Jimmy Butler here. And then for the rest of Golden State, maybe you can give a bump to a guy like Pollard as well. But I think he's probably priced correctly on a slate that we have a bunch of guards. So probably mainly just Jimmy here for me.
Yeah, I do like pods. I'm probably going to mix them in, I will say, especially if this ownership holds, which I don't think it will. But we have so many good guards tonight. Like, I'm not going to force anyone to get to them. And then again, maybe we see Moody start. I think that's probably who's going to slide in the starting lineup. He had an amazing game against Atlanta. I don't know that he can replicate that necessarily, but as a starter, forward definitely a tougher position to fill. Could be a pretty good building block to have. And like I said, I think Kuminga coming off the bench is still going to be pretty appealing as well. But yeah, more than anything, this kind of nails home the point that Jimmy Butler going to see a lot of usage. I don't know who's going to be on him in terms of one-on-one. Is it Wiggins himself? Like, I don't know. They'll probably bring Mitchell off the bench, glue him to him at times too. But yeah, Jimmy motivated here for sure. Definitely a guy who can carry some vengeance in his heart. On the other side of things, we do have the Miami Heat. Bam is available. Tyler Hero available. No Jovic, Kashad Johnson, Drew Smith, or Josh Christopher, who's down with the G League. Duncan Robinson is questionable. Not that that's super important. We have seen him starting lately, though. Like I said, I think we could maybe see Davion Mitchell slide in the starting lineup, even if Robinson's available, just to get that defense on the floor. But yeah, not a terrible matchup for Miami, but they are pretty healthy right now. Bam's been playing well. You can make the case for Wiggins, more so on DK. FanDuel 7,100, kind of tough to get to. But yeah, man, Miami looks okay. I don't hate the matchup. At the same time, they're healthier than they have been. So it's just really tough to call anything a priority here, even with the narratives. But are you getting to much heat right now?
Yeah, so we've actually seen a resurgence of Andrew Wiggins getting flashbacks to Golden State. Andrew Wiggins, hey, they're playing Golden State tonight. Yeah, so I think Wiggins, 22% owned. I think he's actually like even if he wasn't in this narrative, I think he would have been firmly in play. He's just looked very, very good the past few games. So mixing in a firm amount of Andrew Wiggins here, and then the rest of the team, Bam, I think he's fine in tournaments. Center's loaded, so he's fine to mix in. The guy I like the most though, outside of Wiggins, is actually Cleo Ware, 14%
Mm.
owned. He's the guy I'm getting next up here after Wiggins. I think he looks really good in tournaments too. Did you have
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad you brought up Ware, man. Not getting a ton of love, but the price on DK does feel too low. You could play two centers over there. When he first starting, like he was absolutely crushing. Kind of came back down to earth, and last few games, 4 of his last 5 over 30 fantasy points on both sides. So at 5K or 5,500, definitely a good play. Totally fine mixing him in. So yeah, I think all the starters are going to look decent here. If Robinson's out, keep an eye on that starting lineup. I think it could be Highsmith or Mitchell. Not that either would be a huge priority. I will say Davion Mitchell has spiked some upside lately. Not that we need more guard value though, so don't necessarily need to get to him. But yeah, someone you can mix in if you're playing 150. But we'll circle back. Maybe the data will update. We'll see that Jimmy ownership climb a little bit. But let's get into this next game at 7:30 now. We got the Dallas Mavericks taking on the New York Knicks. On the Dallas side of things, AD's back, but he's not going to play tonight. Getting rest. Exum, Gafford, Kyrie, Lively, Martin, Maxine Prosper, all out. And then Brandon Williams and PJ Washington are both questionable. Spencer Dinwiddie has been an absolute beast lately. It's kind of funny. The price is up. And again, we have so much good guard value. I don't necessarily think I need to get there. PJ Washington's questionable. If he's out, I think Najee Marshall would be playable. Not to the point that I'd be calling him a core play. My favorite play here, and I took this stand last time. It kind of worked out. Is Kai Jones once again? Kind of shocked that he's not getting much love. Again, no AD. Probably going to get the start at center consistently between 25 and 30 fantasy points. 5,100 on DK where you could play two centers. Even on FanDuel, not a ton of great value at center tonight, in my opinion. I do think Kai Jones is pretty appealing. Obviously, not the best matchup, but they're going to want him on the floor. They definitely like his minutes more than, I don't know, what's his name, Dwight Powell in terms of what he's doing for fantasy production. So I like Kai Jones, man. Definitely going to get to him as a tournament play. Pretty shocked he's getting no love once again. And it's modeled to prove. Rating is the best Dallas value on both sites. Are you getting to many Mavericks tonight? And are you with me on the Kai Jones call? Again, I'm pretty shocked he's not getting more love.
Yeah, so first of all, I like the Kai Jones shout. I didn't have much going into the stream here, but he's playing decent minutes and he's a good producer for DFS. So uh,
Mhm.
definitely want to mix him in, especially with that call. And then after that, I wasn't getting much here. Even with 80 out here, it's just not much I like here from Dallas. So uh, mainly just Kai Jones, I guess that you mentioned. I'm not getting to much else here.
Yeah, and funny, we just mentioned how whenever we talk about a team, we seem to get the news. We are in sync today. PJ Washington is out. Brandon Williams is in. Kessler Edwards is back. He was unavailable last game as well. But what this really does, like I said, is it makes Najee Marshall playable. I don't mind the price on FanDuel. The DK price tough to get to, but it makes me feel better about the Kai Jones exposure because we have seen PJ play the five at times. Not that that's something they want to do constantly against the Knicks, but yeah, should secure minutes for Kai Jones. I like him even more. Over on the Knicks side of things, definitely a team with some injury issues. Jalen Brunson is out. So is his backup, Miles McBride. We also have Mitchell Robinson questionable. Um, so yeah, we're going to see Campaign start again. And Campaign as a starter, very, very appealing. One of the top value plays on the entire slate, 17.7 FanDuel value score, 15.8 over on DK. Rating is the best value play here, 73% owned on FanDuel, only 40 on DK for a little bit more in terms of salary, but he does have shooting guard eligibility on both sides, which is super important. In his last game, where he was able to start only 29 minutes against Washington, I think that game blew out. Did get to 31 fantasy points, though. He's going to play as many minutes as he can handle. We only have him for 28, and he's already rating as one of the best value plays on the slate. I love Campaign here. I think he's one of the better value plays on both sites. On FanDuel, I mean, the 70+% ownership doesn't feel great, but he looks so damn good on paper there. You can play him with shooting guard. Then on DK, I mean, 38 seems a little bit low, if I'm being completely honest, especially a site where you can kind of mix things around, play multiple guards. You have the utility spot. So Campaign for me, a core play tonight for sure. I do like the spot for Cat as well. We like Kai Jones for fantasy production. Not a great defender, though, so keep that in mind. And you could always mix in guys like OG, Mikhail, Josh Hart. Hart has kind of fallen back down to earth a little bit lately. Definitely more comfortable with OG than any. But yeah, any three or any one of those three, I think you could mix in. Probably wouldn't want more than one in a lineup. But yeah, love Campaign here. Cat, really solid pay up as well if you're not paying down at center. Jayhawk, how are you going to break down these New York Knicks?
Yeah. So one thing to note, I believe Mitchell Robinson did get ruled out as well. Yeah. So he got ruled out like 20 minutes ago, but mainly for the Knicks here, Campaign, like you mentioned, one of my top plays on one of our top plays on the night, core play for both of us. I love him both sides. And then Cat Towns, I love him on both sides, 22 and 18%. I mean, I probably was already going to play him even if Anthony Davis played here, but with 80 out, I think Cat looks amazing here. And then both Mikkel and OG, I think, are firmly in play too. OG had that huge performance a couple nights ago. I think he looks great here as well alongside OG. So I think New York here looks great overall here. 225 total. I think they all look great.
Yeah, totally with you. Yeah, the core play definitely Campaign. I do think Count looks excellent. Not a ton of great payups on the slate. And if we're looking at the entire slate overall, obviously this is before some of that news. Top OF index play on the entire board today over guys like SGA, Cade Cunningham, is Cat Town. So if you can find a way to fit him in there, really, really solid play here. Great matchup for him against this banged up Dallas front court. Taking a quick look at chat, I'm guessing we're getting some of these news updates. Landon, who gets to start with Mitch out? Will it be Merrill? I do not think it will be Merrill. We've seen Okoro a lot of the time getting the nod. It could be Dean Wade. I think he's kind of second most likely. It's going to be Okoro or Wade, in my opinion, but we'll definitely get to that if we do get that news. Unicorn mentioning Moody. Yeah, he's someone who should benefit with Steph out. How do we feel about Khalil Ware? Do you think small ball here will limit his minutes? Let's see. I don't off the top of my head, but we could kind of look at their games against some of these smaller teams recently. Um, yeah, the issue is they haven't really played a small team in a very long time. He's gone over 30 minutes in three of his last five. I don't know. I still like him. You're thinking correctly, though. Like, this is a team that they could go a little bit smaller against, but not enough to the point that I wouldn't be playing Khalil Ware on DK. So, I don't know. Jayhawk, any additional thoughts on that? Again, it's been a while since they've really played a small team. And, like, I'm going through the game logs and, like, even some of the games he's been limited have come against bigger teams. I feel like they've just ramped up his minutes lately, and that's probably something that continues to hold. Uh, but again, kind of tough to really say that with conviction.
Yeah, I think he should be okay. I don't see any reason for them to pull him off the court, especially in this matchup. So Yeah, I think he should be okay with minutes.
Yeah, we have him for 28.4. And when all else fails, just trust the model. Always the way to go. Duncan is out. Appreciate that power. I got to keep an eye on that starting lineup. I think it could be Davion Mitchell. Wouldn't be surprised to see Highsmith. Thuggin asking for the highest owned DK plays. We're going to have to refresh it a little bit. Right now, it's Pippen, Payne, Jerome. All three guards Jackson, Denny, Cat, Paula, Wiggins. There you go. Thuggin. Unicorn mentioned in Dinwiddie. Yeah, he looks pretty good here. He's been playing well. Price is up, though. PJ out. Do we like? Is it Ware better than Carter for the Magic? I think Carter maybe has a little bit more upside. Um, Maybe a lower floor though. Oh, are you asking if we like Kai Jones more? I do personally. Maybe that's crazy, but if we're looking at just centers, sorting by value, Kai Jones' rating is one of the top on the entire board. So yeah, that kind of tells you where we're at. Yeah, Kai Jones will start, in my opinion, Jose. We have him for 27 minutes. I think that's a conservative projection. Paulo in fronts, mini stack. You can do it, Chris. I mean, it's rare they both really hit the ceiling, but with all the guard injuries, I mean, they could get there. Um, any core plays that aren't Payne or Pippen? Um, let's see. I mean, you could go Jerome. I don't know. I guess not. I guess Jerome would be next. But
Yeah,
then you're really using up all your guard spots. Jayhawk, any other thoughts on that one?
the model would say Cat Towns here, highest OF index above everyone
Well, he's
else.
saying 5K or under.
Oh, okay, my bad. Let's
No,
see.
you're good.
I don't. Yeah, nothing that's like core to me. Below 5.
Yep. Jose, maybe more opens up, but not quite yet. Darnell saying, gotcha. Appreciate that. Appreciate you being here, man. And then do we like Eason? We'll get to this game in a few. I mean, I like a lot of Rockets tonight. Easton's probably going to come off the bench. He's fine in tournaments. Low floor, though, as he's shown us recently. Still a high ceiling. Definitely a tournament play, but a risky one at that. So just make sure he's not going to kind of determine your whole night. I do like mixing him in if you're playing multiple lineups. And yeah, Cat overdue for a slate breaker. Yeah, you'd think with Brunson out, the extra usage for him is going to go a long way. All right, guys, let's pick it up again. We got a couple games here. One in the 8 o'clock window between Atlanta and Houston. Just got the question about Tyree Eason. 235.5 point total here. Close enough spread to like this game environment as a whole. Starting on the Atlanta side of things, Trae Young is probable. No Keaton Wallace, no Larry Nance, Jalen Johnson, Clint Capella. Kongu continues to produce at a really high level. His price continues to climb, though. Kind of tough to get to him at the same time. He has been really solid. I would not argue with anyone playing him. Not the best matchup here for Atlanta. Trey looks good at low ownership. You can definitely mix him in. At the same time, really can't call him a priority, mostly because the best value on the slate does come at the guard position tonight. Dyson Daniels is fine. His price actually came down on FanDuel for whatever reason. Probably my favorite Atlanta Hawk here. But yeah, I think this big three of Young, Daniels, and Kongu you can make a case for on either side. Levert, Ricochet, Yang, all fine as like last pieces in. Probably wouldn't want more than one of those three. But if you're needing the value, I think they do make some sense at these forward positions, which obviously are much thinner than the guards and centers today. Jayhawk, are you getting to much Atlanta here? In a difficult matchup against Houston, but a pretty nice total. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of shocking, but the guy I'm getting to the most here is actually Karis LeVert,
Okay.
5,100. Didn't think I'd be getting to him, but I mean, my exposure say otherwise. So Karis, probably my favorite point per dollar. I do like that Dyson call. He'd be a close second for me. And then I think Trey is fine, but what I worry with Trey here is just how he projects compared to all the other spend up guards here. So I think Trey is fine, but I do prefer other spend ups on this. So
Yeah, I mean the thing with Trey is, yeah, the best value is at guard. We have other payups at guard, but that's what's keeping his ownership down.
yeah.
If you're playing Trey, you're getting very different in terms of roster construction. So it does make sense to get a little in tournaments. At the same time, not going to be in the first few lineups that I'm building, that's for sure. Then a really good matchup here for Houston in terms of pace, in terms of defense. No major injuries. Reed Shepard's out. Everything else is G League, so not much to dig into. And as I always say, late in the season, these teams that are healthy are kind of tough to get to. But this is such a good matchup. Eamon Thompson's back, probably my favorite here. I mean, Sangoon showing the better OF index rating. I don't know. Just the minutes have been kind of inconsistent for him. He is coming off an awesome game against Denver, though, albeit against DeAndre Jordan. So maybe take that with a grain of salt. I like Thompson here. I'm fine maybe mixing in Sengun, Van Fleet, Green. Can't call any a priority. Green very popular on FanDuel at 7,400. I get it. It is a good spot for him. Dylan Brooks is always fine as like a last piece in. Just wide range of outcomes for him. Not always involved on offense, but he's been better lately, so don't mind that. And then we did get the question about Eason. Most projected lineups have both Eason and Smith coming off the bench. I will say I definitely prefer Eason of the two. You could make a case for either, but it's really tough to kind of nail down their minutes again as this team gets healthy. Everyone's kind of a little bit overpriced, in my opinion. But at the same time, this is one of the best matchups they could see. Jayhawk, how much Houston are you getting to, and are there any priorities for you here?
So I think there's a couple interesting plays here. You mentioned it. I think Sengun is probably my favorite, but Fred VanVleet, I hate like playing him, but he seems way too cheap for his upside. And mixing in, Fred VanVleet among all these other good guard plays today, and then Jalen Green, kind of shocked. He's only coming on 11%. He's another guy that it probably is underowned. And then Dylan Brooks, I wanted to talk to you about him. He seems overowned to me. I do have him projected to probably hit value, but this ownership seems kind of high for a guy that, kind of relying off his shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason he's popular is because there's not a ton of value at these forward positions, but like I'd rather pay up at forward. I'm with you. Like I
Yeah.
do think he's overowned. Like going through his game logs, he had over 20% usage once. I think the past week, he crushed that game against Philly, but he played 40 minutes and he took 19 shots. Like that's an outlier. Usually, we're not going to see that from him. So yeah, he could get hot from three. I mean, he made five last game against Denver, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I do think he's a bit overowned. I think people are kind of looking into how well he's been shooting this week and maybe kind of overreacting. So if you want to get away from Dylan Brooks, like never going to argue with that. Definitely not a play I'm super bullish on tonight by any stretch.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also like not the biggest Brooks fan, so maybe we
Who is, man?
maybe
Unless you're in his family tree, I don't know that many people are. But, yeah, Dylan Brooks, man. If he's on your team, you love him. Every other person in the world seems to hate him. Speaking of Dylan Brooks, his former team here, the Memphis Grizzlies, taking on the Utah Jazz in Utah. Grizzlies, no Gigi Jackson, no Brandon Clark. Most importantly, though, no John Morant. So another situation we're going to be able to get to some guards here for Memphis. We already talked about a really good value guards on this slate with Campaign. Ty Jerome's another one, even though he's coming off the bench. But yeah, Scottie Pippen Jr. has been playing outstanding. There was a stretch where Kennard was out playing him. Pippen has been the guy lately, though, and I do think they're going to start Pippen again here. I will say, even Kennard coming off the bench, you can get to him. Both these guys look a little bit too cheap for what they're capable of, but Pippen, definitely the safer of the two, continues to produce at a super high level, pushing 50% on FanDuel, over 50% on DK. Just a great play. Really, all there is to say about that. Santi Aldama is back and healthy. He's been playing really well. 5,800 for him on FanDuel feels way too cheap. He's still getting a little bit of love on DK for a bit more. Probably my second favorite play here after Pippen. And then Desmond Bain, man. I mean, whenever he's getting extra usage, he is a guy that can spike a huge upside. Coming off two poor shooting games, terrible game against the Clippers. Only a 13% usage rate, only 24 fantasy points in 32 minutes. If there's a bounce back spot for him, I do think it might be here against Utah. Last time he played them to get over 40 fantasy points in a game, I think Ja was available. So we know that he can do well in this matchup. And then Jaren Jackson kind of depends on which site you're playing on, who I prefer out of Bain or Jackson. On DK, Jackson more than 1K cheaper than Desmond Bain. Definitely the better play over there. And again, power forward, tougher position to fill than the guard spots tonight. So gotta like Jackson. But yeah, man, I think all the starters here, assuming it's Pippen, Bain, Wells, Aldama, Jackson, except for Wells, he's just so inconsistent. I'm interested in. And then Kennard coming off the bench, I have some interest in as well. But really, really good matchup here for Memphis on the road against this tanking Utah Jazz team. How much of these Grizzlies are you getting to, and which of these Grizzlies are you calling priorities?
Yeah, so fantastic spot here for Memphis. 240 total, great matchup. Scottie Pippen, don't need to say much here. Core play, one of the best plays on the slate. Jaren Jackson, I have not played this guy much, at least recently, but this price point seems broken, at least on DraftKings. So 7,800. I love Jaren here for cash games or tournaments. And then Desmond Bain as well. You noted the 8,900. Another guy that's in a great spot to have a bounce back game here. So I think Memphis in general here looks awesome. And then the guy that I want to shout out here as well, Vince Williams. I haven't projected to hit value, but he's always a guy that kind of scares me with kind of his 20-minute cap around that range. So I think he's fine, but he does scare me a little bit, Vince Williams. Did you have a different take?
No, I'm pretty much with you. I don't think I'm going to get to him just because, again, he's capped at 20 minutes. And, like, even for these cheap guys, we want to see more than 20 fantasy points. Like, he just hasn't been getting there. So I'm pretty comfortable getting away from Vince Williams, especially if he's going to be popular. Again, we have a lot of value on this slate. Not quite that cheap, but if you're using a few 4K plays in your builds, you don't need someone like Vince Williams necessarily. So again, I like the starters except for Wells. Don't really like Williams. The one guy off the bench I have interested in is probably Kennard. Um, but yeah, let's talk about the Utah side of this game as well. We got Clarkson questionable, no Collins, no Laurie. Potter's with the G League, a few other G Leaguers listed here. None really worth talking about. But yeah, Utah, another team that's kind of tanking in a weird way. Like they'll play guys on certain nights, other nights they'll get rested. We already know Collins is out and Laurie's going to be out. So maybe Filipowski slides into the starting lineup here. I think that's likely. But they have George Sexton and Collier probably available. So there's more guards than usual. So yeah, I don't know that I really like anything from Utah. I will say Walker Kessler probably the one play I have some interest in. Just priced where he should be though, not the best matchup. So I don't know. I think there's maybe some upside to a few of these Utah Jazz. I just don't know who it's going to be on a night to night basis. So I don't really know that that's the type of game I want to be playing. Um, Again, Filipowski probably starts. It's just he's priced up to a point now where there's not a ton of meat on that bone in terms of upside. They got more of their guards available than usual, so tough to really recommend anything in the backcourt. I hate to say it, but I probably just don't play much Utah here, man. How about you?
Yeah, Utah's kind of similar to Charlotte for me, and it's just a team I'm not loving here on this slate. It's just like all these guys barely I have projected like slightly undervalued. I just don't love any of these guys in particular. If I had to pick one, I probably would go a guy like Kessler. I think he does have the stock upside and this 240 total, so maybe Kessler. Other than that, I wasn't getting to a bunch from Utah here.
Yep, I'm with you, man. All right, let's just keep going here. We got a couple more games to get to. I will get to chat, guys. Don't worry. But now we're into this 10 o'clock window, and neither site, DraftKings or FanDuel, cut off these late games tonight. So that's good. At least we're consistent. First one here at 10 o'clock, we get the OKC Thunder taking on the Sacramento Kings. Taking a look at the injury report for OKC. Hartenstein's available. Holmgren's questionable. Wallace, Wiggins, and Jalen Williams, who's been out for a while, is questionable as well. Yeah, man, this is tough. So the best value plays on the slate are probably a guard, but as a result, nobody's playing SGA. I think if Jalen Williams is still out, I want to get to some SGA if I can. Definitely easier to do on DK than it is on FanDuel, though, again, because you have the extra guard spots. If Chet is out, I do think Hartenstein probably becomes my favorite OKC play. But just kind of a tough team to talk about because, like, Wallace and Wiggins are seeing a ton of minutes. They're both questionable. If they're out, I do think someone like Isaiah Joe could be a little bit more appealing. Lou Dort always looks okay in the model, just inconsistent in terms of what he's doing offensively. Kind of like a Dylan Brooks that people actually like. Lou Dort, pretty much. But yeah, man, I don't know. If Jalen Williams comes back, I think most of this team's overpriced. But I will say, if Chet's out and Williams is out again, I probably want to get to a little bit of Hartenstein. SGA is SGA. The ceiling's there. Mix them in if you can. But again, best value on the slate does come at guard. Are you getting to many Thunder players here?
Yeah, so you kind of talked about it really well. I think just kind of a hard team to navigate here with all these guys questionable, and it's just I know the total side. I don't love this spot in general for fantasy purposes.
Right.
SGA is 2% owned. Again, like he's fine at his ownership, but it's just very tough to click him over these other guards. And then Hardenstein, 2% owned, another center you can maybe mix in. But the rest of the team here, it's just they're great as a team, right? Like OKC, if not the
Yeah.
best team in the NBA. It's just for fantasy, at least tonight, it's tough for me to say any of these guys are must plays for me.
Yeah, I mean, as they get healthy, we could think of the Celtics when they're healthy. It's like night to night. You know, someone's going for 50. It's just you really want to try to figure out who it is. Probably not. You're probably better off going other places where we know there's injuries. We know there's upside, even for some of the pay ups. On the other side of this game, we got the Sacramento Kings, Devin Carter, Doug McDermott, Malik Monk, all questionable. Most significant of that group, certainly Malik Monk. If he's out, we should probably see Keon Ellis slide into the starting lineup again, in which case he'd be pretty appealing. But again, do we really need any more value at guard tonight? Probably not. So I'm fine just really not even worrying about that too much. DeRozan's been solid, but his price is up. You can make a case for Levine, Monk if he's in. But again, I think all these guys are a little bit overpriced for a tough matchup with Sabonis back in and available. Definitely takes Joe Val out of consideration now that Sabonis is back in there. But yeah, man, it's just another team that's getting healthy, and they're all kind of priced to have Sabonis out. So with Sabonis back, until these prices come down, it's just not something I'm bullish on. I will say DeRozan on FanDuel at 7,700. I'm pretty fine with that price, kind of regardless of format. Would definitely prefer Monk to be out to be getting to him though. But any Sacramento Kings for you?
Yeah, so Sacramento here, I just maybe on FanDuel you could have more consideration for a guy like DeRozan, like you mentioned, but at least on DraftKings, this is just I think it's a tough spot here for Sacramento, so not getting too much here.
Yep, totally agree, man. And then yeah, one more game. While we got the momentum, let's just get it. We got Cleveland taking on the Portland Trailblazers at 10 o'clock. 230 point total here. Cleveland slight favorites on the road. On the Cleveland side of things, big piece of news: no Donovan Mitchell. So let's start with Cleveland. Yeah, seeing Darius Garland getting a lot of love. FanDuel price is very appealing with Mitchell out. We've seen huge games out of Garland. I know some people are talking about Kamara in the one-on-one matchup makes him a little bit concerning. I mean, the one thing I'm concerned about is just giving up some of this guard value. Other than that, I do think Garland looks excellent. Mobley looks outstanding. Rating is the even better play in terms of OF index rating. And again, forward tougher to fill tonight compared to guard. So probably my favorite Cleveland Cav. You can make a case for Allen. I don't know that I'm going to get there with Mobley available. Ty Jerome, though, even off the bench, definitely a guy who's going to see increased minutes here. More appealing on DK at 4,400. Just too cheap for his role. Even in 24 minutes, rating is the best value play on DK. I think he's second on FanDuel behind Max Struess, who we are projecting to start in place of Mitchell. Actually, he's going to start regardless, even if Mitchell's in there. I think it's a question of whether it's going to be Wade or Okoro. I don't really want to play Wade or Okoro either way. But just quickly to recap, this is a good spot for a pretty good team. I like Mobley. I like Garland. I like Jerome. Those are the three I have the most interest in. Don't mind Struess as like a last piece in. But yeah, Cleveland. How are you going to handle this one, Jayhawk?
Yeah, so I think it all starts, at least for me, with Ty Jerome here on DraftKings, 4,400. I think that price point is just broken. Um,
Yep.
Love Jerome, and then Mobley and Garland, I think are both great as well. Yeah, Garland on FanDuel, I agree, great play. He's still great on DraftKings, but you mentioned it, bunch of great guard plays for cheaper. So getting slightly less Garland over on DraftKings, and then Mobley, I'm kind of just neutral to the field here. I think he's solid. I think we have a bunch of great plays, so just mixing in Mobley at his ownership.
Yeah, Mobley's a good play. There's a lot of good plays in that range, though. We talked about Jimmy. We talked about JJJ. All priced about the same with that power forward eligibility. But looking over onto the Portland side, no DeAndre Ayton, Banton questionable, Jeremy Grant doubtful, Robert Williams out, Rayon Rupert is questionable. Not that he matters all that much. But yeah, man, Portland's they've been playing pretty well. Denny obviously has been spiking massive upside as a result. We've seen his price climb. He looks fine on both sites. Better on DK, obviously, where he is cheaper. You can make a case for the other starters. Shady on Sharp probably going to continue to start with Jeremy Grant out. Tumani Kamara, everyone's talking about his defense, but when he gets hot from three, he looks pretty good here as well. Not the best matchup, but Cleveland kind of like, I don't know, Cleveland's the best example of this. They're a good defensive team, but they play pretty fast, so it almost offsets for opponents when we're talking about fantasy. They can still get there because they're playing a lot in transition. So I don't love Portland here. I will say Denny looks fine. You can mix Simons in. I just think there's too much guard value for me to really want to play him that much. Klingon will be needed here against this big front court. Not a good matchup for him, though. Very much boomer bust, but you can mix him into your exposures. Are you getting too much of these Trailblazers?
Yep, mainly just Denny here, both sides. And then other than that, I just don't love Portland here. You can mix in Anthony at his
Yeah.
ownership, but it's mainly just Denny for me.
Nice, man. Right there with you. Let's take a quick look at chat here, and then we will do a dummy build. Landon, I think the last comment I shared was this one on Cat. Definitely has some upside. How do we feel about Kolek? I know Knicks fans want this guy to get more minutes. I don't think Dibs wants to give him more minutes, though, right? So yeah, it's probably a no for me. He looked good in 18 minutes against the Wizards, but I think some of that came in blowout. I just think we have too much other guard value for me to want to get to any Tyler Kolek tonight. How about you, Jayhawk?
Yep, not getting to any Kolek. It seems a little bit too deep for me.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a smaller slate or we didn't have all this other guard value gold tube, I can see it. Um, Chris saying Cat or Sengun, interesting choice to pick from. I think the minutes for Cat are so much easier to trust, Chris. I'm leaving Cat out of the two, but I agree. It is an interesting choice. You're more bullish on Sengun than I am tonight, Jayhawk, but which of these two are you kind of leaning? I know you love Cat too.
It's got to be Cat for me still. Love Cat.
Steve with another name, Toshibwe with Collins out and Laurie out. I wasn't really considering him. Trying to pull up some data here. I don't even know if he's with the team. I'll say it's a no for me, but I'm trying to get some confirmation if he's with the G League or if he's with the squad because one of the sites I'm looking at, yeah, he is available. He's up from the G League. I don't think I'm going to get there. He's shown some upside, man. Any interest in Oscar for the Jazz? Again, it's just a deep bench. I don't know that we can trust his minutes.
Yeah, and it seems like another play that it just seems too deep for me to get to. It's just we have so many good plays on the slate, so probably not for me once again.
Yeah, when we have so much obvious value, you don't have to take as many of these risks. Like if this was a 4 or 5 game slate, I do think there would be a case to be made for him. But we got 8 games to choose from. How probably not going to be it for me today. Can we rank Jerome, Pippen, and Payne? Let's see here. Kessler Edwards now the top PK value. That's interesting. That's where all the Kai Jones ownership's going. So we got to keep an eye on that. I think Pippen 1, Payne 2, Jerome 3 for me, just because I lean with the starters. But how would you rank those three, Jayha?
So I'd go probably the same Pippen, Payne, Jerome. I agree. Yeah.
Nice. Castle Biombo's starting. Good to know. Don't have to play too much Sochan now. Top 2 or 3 spend up players we're trying to jam in. For me, it's probably Cat, Bain. Um, I don't know, Mobley maybe. How about you? Or one of the Orlando wings.
Yeah. I'd say Cat, Bane, Banchero, maybe JJJ if you consider him a spend up.
Yeah, maybe Jimmy if you want to play that narrative, Torian. But a lot of good stuff to choose from. Cade not seen at warmups yet, and there's power with the follow up. Cade out. That is huge. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. JJJ or Mobley for you, Jayhawk. I think it depends on site for me. JJJ on DK, Mobley on FanDuel, but it's close.
I'm gonna go same thing as you. Mobley, FanDuel, JJJ, DraftKings.
Nice. THJ is in and Cade is out. How's Kamara last in? I think more just like a last piece in Dave, just because he doesn't have a ton of ceiling. He's like priced where he should be. So when I'm saying last in, it's not a slight on the player. It's more just that he's kind of priced where he should be. Jose Kamara or Beasley as a follow up there. I think now with Kate out, it's probably going to have to be Beasley. Definitely going to take a ton of shots. So that's where we're at on that one. But yeah, let's talk about Detroit for a second. I don't know if we've seen the starting lineup yet. I guess Sasser could maybe get the start at point guard. Um, Again, we don't need the value, so I don't know that I want to be playing any of him. Uh, I don't know. Any hot takes on Detroit now with Kate out
I think they should start Azar at point guard, and
or
go
Schroeder?
or Schroeder. Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah, I forgot. I just blanked for a second. Forgot they had Schroeder on that team. Yeah, if Schroeder starts, he's going to look pretty damn good. But again, we have so much guard value. If you want to maybe not go to Detroit, I don't think it's crazy. But let's take a look here. Let's get this dummy build going. We're definitely starting at guard. And yeah, I know I really pumped Kai Jones. Just make sure he's starting before you get to him. Kessler Edwards getting crazy love here. So maybe I missed something. Maybe he's actually, I think both are going to start. We're probably going to see with PJ Washington out, Kessler Edwards and Kai Jones. Both are really good plays. That price on Kessler on DK is kind of crazy, 3,800. But let's go ahead and get into the dummy here. I think we're starting with Pippen and Payne, right?
Yeah, definitely Pippen and Payne.
Yeah, Pippen has point guard only. Payne. All right. Throw a few more names at me.
Let's see here. Cat Towns, top on the model. I think we got to get him in there.
I'm with it. I like it. Um, let's see. I mean, we could go Jerome. Just go ahead and get all three guards in there for value. 6,500 per. I mean, we could try to jam in Jimmy. I do think Kessler Edwards, if he starts, is going to be
Yeah,
tough to get away from.
yeah, we can go Hessler.
Yeah, just pulling up his game logs here. I mean, 20 any game he's over 25 minutes. I mean, he's pretty much pushing value. He's just so cheap. I think it makes other things work more than we just love him as a play. But yeah, small forward. Do you want to go Jimmy or I
Yeah,
don't know?
Jimmy's good. I actually really like Beasley, even if he doesn't start. He should chuck a lot here for Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, historically his usage has been great even off the bench, so I'm with that. We could try to fit both.
We can
Does
go
he have
Jimmy.
forward eligible?
Yeah, yeah, he's
Yeah,
got four.
awesome. That leaves us 8,200 for utility. We
Ooh,
got Bam. We got Amon.
that's
I
a good
mean,
one.
those are both really solid. Garland.
Yeah,
Um, any preference out of those? I do like the spot for Thompson. I mean, if we're gonna see a ceiling game, Atlanta's definitely a good spot.
I like it. I like Azar. He's low owned, perfect low owned piece.
Yeah, Amon, not Azur. Azur's on Detroit,
All
but
right,
yeah,
amen, amen.
I'm with you.
They're
You
both
play
good.
both the Twins today if you want to.
Yeah,
I think that's it, guys. And yeah, Power saying he likes Schroeder to start at the one. And again, if Schroeder does start at the one, he's a really good play. We answered Jose. I think that's it, everyone. I think we got Smitty into Discord. Probably already started, guys. Definitely keep an eye on lineups as well as the news as it breaks. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, check the links in the description below. Get access to the model you see here. Get access to the Discord and get access to us behind the scenes. Always there for you. Q&A. We'll be back tomorrow. Any last thoughts, Jayhawk, before we get out of here? Pretty fun one tonight. Let's see how vengeful Jimmy Butler is.
yeah. Should be a fun slate. Hopefully, see screenshots on the Discord, and good luck, guys.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.